Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our wool quality program presentation provided by Felix Nez from Dinè College Land Grant Office. So thank you, Felix, again for finding some time to provide this presentation. Thank you again, Felix. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen over to you to provide your wool quality program presentation.
Thank you, Jess. Well, let me go ahead and begin. Thank you, Jess, for that introduction and your program. And you guys are doing a lot on your end, and it's always been great to kind of team up with you guys. But my name is Felix Nez. I'm the extension agent here at Dinè College Land Grant Office. Do na kaidnen shlo last cheese buses chin and my dish gizni are my cheese and twitching are my knowledge. We have this Navajo research program that we have put in a grant 3 years ago, or actually now 4 years. We had an extended extension on the grant. So this is the 4th year, and we got our last meat evaluation done here earlier this week. So that's why I was kind of running around. The fiber samples also, we just put those in with Utah State. I haven't get the results back. I was really hoping to get them by today to share with you guys. But just kind of some of the results that we had in the past, that's what I'm going to go ahead and look at today, John. So the grant, like I said, we got it 3 years ago. Kind of some of the background programs that we had in the past, and we wanted to see how we can improve the genetics of animal quality on fiber and meat carcasses. And then I think we've seen a lot of producers that don't have a market avenue for a lot of their meat. Sale barn was pretty much one of the only things that they were looking at. So that's what we kind of looked at with this grant, and it's called Enhancing in the Quality of Fibers, Meat Carcass, and Lamb Meat Marketing for Navajo Producers through applied research. We did look at 10 producers pretty much throughout New Mexico and Arizona side. And out of those 10 producers, we did the baseline data, meaning that all the breeding ewes, whatever they had, we took wool samples off of them. We took 2 lambs off of the last or first breeding season that they had. We took those up. We looked at those with Utah State, and that's where we kind of began with our data. We did introduce our SAM RAM that we usually lease out to folks. So these were new folks that were actually getting the SAM RAM, and New Mexico State is where we got the SAM animal, and it's a dual purpose animal is what we were looking at. So that's how we kind of wanted to see if we had any quality changes on some of these animals. So what kind of really led us into this was, like I said, the background that we kind of did in the past. We started a wool buy with Mid-State wool growers and Peace Fleece and another gentleman that looks at the mohair side, and he's based out of Chicago, and Midwest growers is what he was looking at. Later on, we ventured on to other folks that were and getting shipped back out. So here's some numbers that I kind of wanted to share with you. We started in 2012. We picked up about 12,000 pounds. Average price back then, was a little bit higher, but we graded out at 70 cents per pound. So about $12,000 is what we kind of paid out to folks. And then years passed. The next following year, it jumped up to 44,000. Next year, 80, 80. You know, it just kept climbing. Eventually, the high point before the pandemic hit, we were at 180, 38,771 pounds is what we picked up. Um, we kind of noticed that a lot of the folks we were picking up more wool from had a lot of crossbreeds. So the average price per pound on that end was at 58 pounds. So, you know, giving a total payout on Navajo Nation, 80,000, about 487 on 18 cents. Last year, we were able to pick up wool, and it was more likely the producers that we were working with that were changing their fibers and the rams that we were releasing out to them. So the flocks that they had, the folks, the producers that I know that had good quality wool that were kind of doing the right thing, right direction on marketing side, meaning, you know, the plastic bag we're giving out, they were filled, we labeled them. So we just kind of came in, picked it up, weighed it, and then just wait for the wool buyers to come out and pick up the wool. So that's how we kind of looked at it last year, John. So that year, last year, or 2019, we were able to give back to the Navajo people 411,922, over almost $500,000 we gave back just on wool alone, buying, selling wool. So this year, you know, sad to say, since this pandemic still kind of around, mid-state isn't going to be coming out this year, you guys. We usually have the buy the second week of June, but this year, ain't got so just kind of heads up information on that. I believe that Tisna's bus trading is sell or buying some. I'm not sure about Sakaya. I heard last that they weren't picking up wool, but I wool balers and wool press that we're actually seeing if we can purchase on our end. That way, you know, we pick up the wool, we grade the wool, we pack the wool, and actually start selling the wool international and domestic, meaning that the wool buyers that we were kind of looking at in the past, and then trying to set up later on with the international buyers. The three wool buyers that I was hoping to see if we can sell the wool to, and two I already got approval from, was Mid-State, going with them again. And then also uh, uh, Utah wool marketers. And then, of course, Roswell, which is close to us. So those are the folks that I was kind of aiming towards to see if we can bale some of this wool and take it out there ourselves. Luckily to say, last year when we had the wool taken up by Mid-State, by the time it was graded, it actually graded out to where we're looking at 18 to 19 to about 21 microns on a lot of those fibers that we took in. And some of the payouts were at almost about $2 to about $2.30, I believe. So the reason why I wanted to share that with you is, if we look at the annual pounds per pounds, you know, we're in the sense, we're in at the 70 cents when we first started out. But if we worked and changed a lot of these, we're able to get about $2 back per pound for the producers. So we were going still in the right direction, you guys. It's just this year, yeah, the pandemic, they're not going to be coming out of job. So I always encourage producers, you're doing the right thing, continue doing the right thing. Okay. So the research, back to the research, like I was saying, we had 10 producers. We were going to analyze for about 3 years, but this year we had a no cost extension. So meaning that we had a little bit of money due to the COVID. So we're able to pick up lambs, um, take them up to Utah State, get them tested or evaluated, I should say, um, just this week. So sorry, I don't have that result with you for this year's. Um, Yesterday, I was running around all day, giving all the carcass meat out to producers and trying to get rid of them. And so yesterday, this presentation was actually scheduled. By the time 5 o'clock, 5:30 rolled around, I was still on the road. So my apologies to that area. So we incorporated the breeding program to improve the genetics. The results would be the fibers, the meat quality. Definitely, it was over a 3-year term. So God bless to my producers. They did a lot of wonderful job. Some of it shows on the data, and just awesome job to them. Yep. But we picked up 20 wethers is what we did, meaning that two lambs from each producers, um, given 20 wethers that we usually take up. We drew blood from them, make sure they weren't R&R or QQ, meaning for scrapie disease. Um, we take them up to the facility. Dr. Lyle McNeely is the one that kind of looks at the meat facility and the fiber samples. Hayden is the one that very knowledgeable on the meat side of things. Doc, he would look at the fibers for us. So that's what we did. Reason why we chose the Rambouillet Sam genetics is, New Mexico State had picked it up from Australia, and we got to go visit their facility back in '09, I believe. And that's when we started leasing out, started the wool program, and just some of the characteristics that we were looking at with the Sam Rams. It's a dual purpose animal, meaning that, we're looking at the meat side and then the wool side of things also. Just keep in mind that wool is something that needs to be sheared every year on your flock. So might as well get, two contributions coming in at once from your herd. Um, I know I was told in the past, wool ain't gonna make a lot of money, ain't gonna make you rich. It's gonna be the meat side of things. So the good confirmations that I've seen from these animals, that's where we were kind of aiming at. And then of course, the arid areas that we're living in, a lot of the producers, some of them, they range their animals out. So we don't want an animal that is just really huge, needing a lot of intake, but pretty much is adaptable to our range area. So New Mexico State, it's pretty much their range is almost like ours. So that's why we kind of went with this animal. Study area, if you kind of look, these are some the producers where we're going out and dropping off the ramps to keeping them the ewes bred, shearing, vaccinating, deworming, all those we kind of did with them. The first year, so we actually started in 2018, 2017 actually. We're breeding at 140 ewes. Animal units were all pretty much low. Then it climbed up to last year, 297 breeding ewes as of October. So, we really increased it. But I know with this pandemic this year, when I was able to pick up animals, a lot of this number was cut in half. It just rangeland, poor precip. A lot of the producers just cut a lot of their herd in half. A lot of them would range pastures, rangeland. Some had in corrals. Some had summer and winter pastures. So it was just a mix. I kind of didn't really care as long as the animal genetic is in there, and to see that portion is what we're aiming at. So the genetics of this was, like I was saying, these animals aren't superior animals, but they're good quality animals. They have good generations of adapting to harsh environments. So your superior animals are more like your your um your meat breeds. Maybe you're looking at a Suffolk or a Columbia and a I forget some other names, but those are more your big animals. So okay, we wanted to look at something that is not so huge, um, because we're buying a lot of feed for animals. But other than that, we wanted to get these lambs off on the ground, get them to slaughter to sell as quick as possible, so that way it's not so detrimental to the rangeland or to the producer themselves. So that's what we're kind of hoping to get. Um, we kind of look at the index of what these rams were dropping on the animals. So pedigree on that, the growth, of course, the the rams, the weathers is 40%. So a lot of the producers that we're looking at to replace some of their ewes, it's not so much um, like they're not getting any ewes, but they'll have a few here and there. But the meat side of things, we're getting a lot of those. So the replacement ewes, if you kind of look at it, it's only at 12%. But on the meat side of things, the choidenis, the weathers, they're about 40%. So marketing wise, it was good. The carcass itself at Sankey, we knew that was high. On the female side of things for replacement, it was kind of low. But then again, like I said, we wanted to kind of um, look at that in the long run to where the meat we wanted to sell. We wanted that income coming back to them. Okay. The maternal side. So these are more of the good mothering types that we wanted to see. So, big mouth, um, taking care of the lambs, having them to where they're getting off the ground quick, going into roughage as soon as possible, weighing them or weaning them as much as possible. So A to E, that's what we wanted to see. Lambing wise, we were getting twins, we were getting some triplets. I think this is kind of based on more of the nutrition portion, but as long as they were getting one on the ground from a breeding ewe, I think they were happy with that, just because some range conditions just weren't as good. We were breeding these guys in October. They were dropping their lambs in March. So when we take them up right before they go into mutton, that's when we will pick up the lambs and get them slaughtered up in Utah. We were looking at lambs, not mutton. We wanted to see the different tastes, the different structures of those. I know some grandmas were kind of against it, saying, "Hey, I hate to see, the payas yet, I hate that." But we wanted to see where the slaughtering of those lambs were at. So that's what we kind of wanted to do with our managing portion. And I think later on, they got used to it. So they would look at the shearing until after they lamb, but after changing to where the fiber samples, explaining to them, teaching them, even with the mothering of the lambs, we're able to um, shear before that, before they even lamb. And for the shearing portion, the electric shears is kind of what we're looking at besides the hand shears. So hopefully we continue with that. So when we go up, this is kind of some of the measurements I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So the genetic portion this year, we've seen a lot of it. We've seen a lot of the muscling. We've seen a lot of not so much of the fatness. So the more the meaty type is what we wanted to see. So if you look at this first one, this is your carcass weight. So head off, gut out is what we're aiming at. So when we first picked them up off of their breeding, whatever ramps they were using, um, and this is the average. The average weight of all those lambs that we picked up out of that 20 set of lambs, the average weight was 30 pounds. Okay. So last year, when we were able to go up and get those tested, we jumped up to 51 pounds. Okay. And just to keep in mind, the USDA standards for a good carcass weight is about 56 pounds. So we were close to that. This year, I believe a lot of our lambs were up in the 50s and up into the 60s. We just had about two or four, two producers, four of their lambs were weighing under 30 pounds. And and this due to nutrition, I believe is what it was. But so, that's a 20 pound jump from when we first started out with them to when we're breeding their ewes with our ram. So that was a good indication. This one's just telling you that it's a lamb or mutton. So pretty much lambs is what we're looking at. This one is the firmness, the softness of the meat itself. And then this one, the same thing, the confirmation wise. So the firmness, we jumped up definitely from having it being soft. So if you look at this meat carcass here, this is pretty much how a lot of the carcass we're picking up look like. They're about 20 something pounds. Um, if you were to cut off the meat off of all of whatever meat you can get off of it, you're looking at about 7 to 10 pounds off of that, minus the bones and whatnot. This is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see a good fat cover, good muscling, good thickness in the loin area. That way, the hotel or the retail sellers don't have to trim a lot of this fat back off to get to the meat. So, a lot of lean meat is what folks are aiming at. So, in that's what we're hoping for. So that's what we got, and that's what we want to stick with. So the body fatness here, that's what that is. And this is every 10th of an inch. Okay. So, when we first started, we weren't even looking at body fatness on it. Now we're at about an inch, close to an inch body fatness on it. And that's where we want to stay in that. We want to stay at. This is the loin area. We went from 1 inch to about 2 inch, almost 2 inch and a half from last year. Okay. This is the body wall thickness of the fatness. See how this one is all pinkish, reddish looking. That's not what we want to see. Every time we do the carcass and slaughter, the body after the slaughter will actually start oxidizing, meaning that whatever muscle that I was at or had will start sucking out the juice of the fatness on it. So the quicker that it has no fatness, the quicker it will use up all that oxygen that it had inside the body. So later, when you start touching the animal or the meat itself, it starts getting all sticky or the jit on it. And the more firmness, the body wall fatness that you have on it, the more dry and firm it will look on it. So, those Ayet and Lenny, the in-laws, how they say Nash or the jit. So don't let me butcher. That's the wrong thing to say because it's all due to the fatness on that wall. Toshan kata danis, you know. So whoever is the one producing those animals, that's what that is coming from. But yeah, so we wanted to see from, so we jumped up on that too from point 0.3 to about almost half an inch of body thickness swelling on it. Our meat, when we first got them, they were going at good, and now we're at a choice. I believe some of these are, we're looking at prime pretty much right now too. And our year grade, this goes by 1, 2, 3. One is good, meaning that we have a lot of lean meat, but 2 is where we want to be at. So this is where the good side of things. Okay. This is just kind of saying each producers how they from year to year they improve. So the first year we're only able to get 7 of the producers. Okay. The last 3 we were able to get the next following year. So this first one is the actual carcass weights. That's what we've seen on the first year. On the third year, look at how far it jumped up. They were looking at, so, oh, let me back up real quick, you guys. So when we first pick them up, we look at bring them here, we'll put them on a scale, we'll look at the live weight, and then we'll take them off. Just because when you're traveling with animals, they will shed about 4% of their body weight. So usually when you want to train your animals to go on a long drive right before slaughter, you want to go ahead and, you know, load them up, take them around, feed them, drop them off, load them up, take them off, feed them, take them, so they get used to that, so they don't shed as much as possible. Okay, so that 4% is where we kind of lose that, but it's okay though, you know. So we're looking at a really good increase, you know. So a lot of these we're almost looking at to where folks thought they were at mutton stage. You know, I think about 130 pounds where you're looking at mutton stage. We were close to those on some of these animals. This is just some of the data that um, we would get off of the producers themselves. Uh, so let's dive into the fiber samples. Okay. So the fiber samples, when we first get them, we usually do what is called the side samples. We'll take the mid-sections, we'll label, we'll identify them with their premise ID, and then look at 2 samples from each of the lambs. When we first started them, we were looking at a lot of the producers as being half blood, meaning they had a lot of mix of something else, all the way down to about quarter blood. So we wanted to bring that down. So this is what 20 microns is. This is what means a lot of the animals that you have, we want them close to that line. And the more you're close to that line, the more full breed you have in your animals. Okay. So when we first started out, we had some that were close to the 30s, 30 microns, and it even goes a little bit higher and then that, I think. So this one, like I said, we wanted to look at full breeds. This black line is the one that when we first started, and you know, we were quite a ways from having a lot of animals that weren't full bred or full Rambouillet Sams. When we first started out, none of them pretty much were what we wanted to look at. But after a while, we started changing that breed to where it was a Rambouillet Sam, Rambouillet Sam, Rambouillet Sam, Rambouillet Sam, okay, and so forth. Um, when we took the samples out in 2019, we had some that were dropping below that 20 microns. Okay, so meaning that we're going into the finer genetics of or fibers of the animal. Um, this is just from the year when we first took off from the U's. So we were at 24 microns off of those U's that they had. The next following year, you know, we started dropping. We ended up to 17 microns on a lot of those animals. Okay. So just to kind of average it out, we're at 23 microns on a lot of those. I think this past year, We were at, ooh, I want to say at 19 to 20 microns. So this actually dropped too, you guys. The standard deviation for the microns, this one you want a low number, meaning that all the fiber samples that we're taking in, if you have a high number, it's more likely that wool is not uniform, meaning that you had strands of thicker um, fibers, and then some that were fine. It was just not uniform. We wanted to get that number to a low number, which is 3. So now throughout the whole sample, we're at 4. This is probably at 3 right now after this. Okay. The comfort factor, this is the percentage wise. So the lower the number, the comfort it is, the more itchy when they look at doing the clothing material wise, the lower the number, it itches your against the body skin. The higher the number, the more comforting, the more softness that you get from that wool. And then this is the staple length. The staple length, this is the higher the number you look at, um, the longer the fleece or the longer the fiber length is. So when we first started out there, we're at 75. So meaning that a lot of the genetics that were, or a lot of the animals that we sampled the first year had either mohair, longer hair on them, um, or I shouldn't say mohair, or Navajo churro breed, or a lot of some of the other meaty type animals to where the fiber lengths were longer. So when we started doing the sampling, we ended up back to 70, which is good because um, we wanted to go high and then we wanted to go low. So now every time we look at taking a sample in, I think we're about almost 4 inches of staple length. So when they go ahead and, take those animals or the fibers in, when they go make clothing out of it, they want everything to be touching when they're spinning. So that is a good improvement on our end, I think. The last one is just kind of the higher the number you have, the more the wavelengths that you have inside your wool, which is more of your crimp type. The longer the crimp that you have, the more it's a coarse wool. The shorter the crimp that you have, the more frequency of crimps you have, the finer that breed is. So we're at 92, which is good. Okay. Marketing wise, we're able to take some of the animals. We took some to the trading post. Luckily, this day when I was there looking at our meat types, this grandma lady was actually selling some or buying some of the meat. Um, so, I told her that those are locally grown animals. So she got to buy some of them. We took some, we took it and actually took the hind leg, kind of what we eat here, and try to sell it that way also. Um, some were good, some were not, and then some we sold as a whole carcass weight to Mountaineer. Mountaineer from there, they would process it, and then it would be shipped back out to Tisna's, but or not Tisna's, TNR, or either that Shop and Save, and then sold as products from them. I think they had one local restaurant that we're working at to sell some of their meat. These are just some of the photos that I have with our producers that we work with. We worked with from all over, pretty much, all ages. We dropped off hay feed to them during quarantine season or during this COVID deal. So thank you to them. Yesterday was the last time I actually seen all of them again, dropped off meat to them. My heart goes out to them. These are all our partners that we work with: New Mexico State, USDA, Sunnysides, Utah States, course land grant, our intern students, Nita, my director, just awesome. We have Michael, we have Paul from Utah, or from New Mexico, and all the wool buyers that we had. ADA, you guys, that's all I have on my presentation. In.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you for your presentation and for all your hard work for the past 14 years. You know, we're going to miss you here from the NAPS project. But we'll take a couple questions and then we'll let you go and celebrate with Dinè College staff. We do have a question. Who do we contact? You know, when for the wool program, and who's next in line?
Okay, so the wool pretty much is probably going to see if we can try and continue. There's going to be Benita. Pretty much the whole land grant staff is going to still be here, minus me. But the contact info here at I should have shared that. Remember, is 928-724-6940 or 6941. That will be the contacts. That's Benita and Audrey. Audrey usually sits in the front taking a lot of those calls. And of course, Benita is our director. She does an awesome job and lets her staff know to see who to assist and whatnot. So,
okay. All right. And then another question. I know you guys did your wool buy, and then there was a wool buy down in Rama. Is that with the same company? How does that work?
Yeah, so once we get done here, so the wool buy we used to do is what we used to take the samples, look and create the samples right there when we cut open the bags. So once we get done here, Wonder Rock has a setup that it's called a co-assignment, meaning that they take the wool and then they give only half, about 35 cents a pound, whatever pound it was. They'll take that back, they'll grade that wool, and then whatever the wool quality is on the wool you provided, that's what they'll pay you off at the end. So when they take it, when we get done, goes to Wonder Rock, and then they go to Rama. Then from Rama, they go to Laguna, and then they're back off into the Midwest. So yeah, it was the same group.
Okay, and so all right. Well, that sounds good. I think that's the end of our Q&A session. Conclude this presentation, and thank you again, Felix, for everything, and we'll be in touch. Don't forget to visit our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our monthly newsletter. So I'm going to quickly go over our slides here to introduce the NAPS project. Okay, the Native American Producers Success Project, or NAPS project in short, is a collaborative effort between Diné, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization, New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Services, and Diné College Land Grant Office. The project is being funded by USDA's Office of Partnership and Public Engagement, Outreach, and Assistance for Socially Disadvantaged and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers program. We currently have our field staff, which consists of myself, the field coordinator, assistant field coordinator, which is Sharon Sandman, and then our technology media coordinator, Jana Johnson. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so the overall goal of the NAPS project is to increase the profitability and long-term sustainability of Navajo farmers and ranchers. To help us achieve this goal, there are some activities that we are currently providing in 4 key areas, which include improving Navajo farm and ranch operations through a series of workshops focusing on crop-related topics and livestock-related topics. We are also increasing our Navajo farmers and ranchers' knowledge of and access to available programs and technical assistance provided by USDA, BIA, Navajo Nation, New Mexico State Cooperative Extension Services, Diné College Land Grant Office, and other professionals. This is being accomplished through resource fairs held annually, facilitating Navajo farmers and ranchers' use of USDA programs such as NRCS, FSA, and RMA programs.